Hi, I'm James from Mint Content.
And I'm Amy from Mint Content, and today we are going to have a chat about how to get the maximum return possible on your content marketing investment. And one of the mistakes that a lot of companies make is forgetting to create products and content that's valuable. They don't focus on the customer. It's all about, well, our strengths are this and we can do that, and there's kind of no, well, what's in it for me for the customer. Customers don't care about companies. They care about, well, can you solve my business problem? And so when it comes to creating content, I've worked with clients before who thought that in every single blog post, they needed to list extensively all of their services and their kind of competitive advantages. And it's completely the wrong approach. You should be showing your customers that you are the best to work with and you know their stuff, and showing that through highlighting your expertise, showing what you know that maybe your competitors don't, and being very generous with your knowledge. Sometimes companies get a bit like, oh, I don't know if we should be giving away so much information for free.
Yeah, exactly. And I think so many companies overvalue their intellectual property, but at the end of the day, the internet exists. There's no such thing anymore as like real proprietary intellectual property that's so amazing that only your company possesses something like that, especially in the services industry. So I agree with everything that Amy is talking about.
Good. There's that saying. What's the saying that if you give away enough stuff for free, people will just pay you to do it for them?
Exactly.
People are rarely going to go and implement all the stuff that you show them on their own.
Totally.
But it's proof that you know what you're doing, and it's much easier to call you up and say, hey, I want to buy your product, or I want to use your services.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the time, customers are really buying services from companies or buying software from companies because of the time saving. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody is capable of learning a service or learning how to do something, but often it's easier for a customer to engage a company to perform the service for them. So content marketing is a terrific way to show the customer that you know what you're talking about. And you do that by finding problems that your customer base has and solving it for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But that's not the only way to get a better return on your... creating valuable content is absolutely critical. You can't have any sort of return without great content. But then the next kind of step to getting the best possible return is then making the most of that content.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and one of the ways to do that is to break your content up and distribute it through multiple channels and mediums. So find elements of your content that are shareable. Maybe you can distribute the content through not only your blog on your website, but through Twitter, through Facebook, wherever your customers are, through LinkedIn.
And if you have an ebook or a white paper, and most companies these days do have that sort of collateral, it's about kind of breaking all of that down into as many chunks as you can and distributing all of that through.
Mm-hmm. 100%. So a great image to think about when you're trying to maximize return on investment for your content marketing is the Russian doll. So you start with a big Russian doll, a big thought piece or an ebook, and you can break the central ideas of that down into smaller and smaller pieces. You can create blog posts. You can repurpose those blog posts into smaller Facebook posts or LinkedIn posts, eventually getting down to the granular level of tweets and things like that.
And that works because some content is just inherently more shareable than others. So if you want to get your content in front of as many eyeballs as possible, just tweeting the link to your white paper probably isn't going to be super effective. But if you take some of your key findings from the white paper and put it in an infographic and tweet that, it's a really good way to expose your audience to your expertise and reach a greater number of people than what you would have otherwise.
Exactly. A great way to think about all of these delivery channels and mediums is your own personal television station or your own personal newspaper. All of these elements all of these social networks are tools for you to leverage in the way that makes sense for those mediums and channels. So on to our final point, which is a return on investment for content marketing takes time. And this is something that a lot of companies and a lot of people forget. Content is a long game. It takes a long time to build up the intellectual property, the brand capital, and to really get inside your potential customers' minds as the preeminent supplier or preeminent provider of value. So you can look at content marketing as a very long-term project, months to years.
18 months
18
probably
months.
is about average. That's
Yep.
what we recommend to our clients.
Exactly. So if you engage in a consistent and persistent creation of content and marketing of content to your customer base, that's the length of time that you can expect
Yes.
before you start getting real return on
I
investment.
think a lot of people come to content marketing and they expect a quick fix.
They
and
do.
They think that after a couple of articles and you do a case study and an ebook and the number of leads being generated hasn't gone up significantly. And the thing is that content marketing isn't about quick fixes at all. It's about building really long-term relationships with your target audience. And it's not an easy thing to do. And even if you do want to make return on investment in 18 months, you still have to, like James was saying, you have to be consistent. So you can't just publish a blog post here and an ebook over here and something on LinkedIn over there. You know, there's no pattern to it. It's very sporadic. You've got no real strategy. And that's not going to get you anywhere at all. So it's about understanding that it takes time, but also following kind of the best practices for putting your content out in the world in a really thoughtful and considered way so that you can reach as many people as possible.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's a wrap for today.
I think that's a wrap.
Excellent. See you next time. This is